Welcome back to Plot to Go, episode number 35. I'm Jack.
I'm Owen.
And that felt really weird because we never just go into an episode. But as you may know, we said last week, we are covering Edinburgh International Film Festival. So these are not particularly timely episodes because we're filming a lot of the stuff in advance, kind of as we see it. Very graciously, we were both admitted as press into Edinburgh International Film Festival. I have been going to this festival. It's both of our home festivals. I've been going to this for since 2020 maybe. In some capacity I've attended Edinburgh Film Festival. I think only since like 2022 as press.
Yeah.
But I've been going for a while. This is your first.
This is my first Edinburgh International Film Festival, only because I joined you for the BFI when it was.
Yes.
I don't know if it does just do cinemas across the UK or if that was just a COVID thing.
It was COVID, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was 2021. But this is my first Edinburgh.
And you hadn't, because did you see After Yang? No.
Yeah.
But was that part of the film festival?
No. That was 2 days before the film was shut down in October.
Yeah. Okay. So that's exciting. How have you found the film festival? I guess I haven't really actually told you. You've been that busy.
How have I found the film
Yeah,
festival
how have you
as
found
a
it?
film festival?
Yeah.
That's quite fun. I think I was going to go last year. I think, I had a lot of time just to do stuff last year.
Yeah.
But just never got around to like doing it. So I remember bumping into you like just socially, but you were running between things a bunch.
Yeah.
It's been fine for me. Like we've talked about, I've been ill. So a lot of the films I've seen have been screeners because I've been in bed watching them, as opposed to how I like it to be, which is actually going to the cinema and watching things. But the first two things that I saw were in a screen with you. So, and that was really nice. I love both of those were in Screen 1 at the Film House, and I love the Film House. So
Yeah, Edinburgh International Film Festival has been tied with an independent cinema in Edinburgh called Film House for ages, and that independent cinema, I think we spoke about this actually in a previous episode, but that shut down for a really long time and it's only very recently reopened, and a lot of the film festival is taking place there, and there's just like such a nice environment in that building. I was like really early for a film recently, and I sat there for about 40 minutes. And there was like a press line and stuff, and just people taking photos and people chatting away. It was just such a nice environment.
yeah, it's dressed up a bit differently than what it normally is.
Yes, yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
We should go in and get photos. Is the red carpet still there?
Yeah.
We should get little photos on the red carpet. We should.
Yeah, why not?
We should see if
Hi, we're big time Hollywood producers. Who's here to photograph us?
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
We'd
okay.
Just convince people that we're really important.
It's all about confidence, that's what they say.
Yeah. Just walk and let you own the place.
Yeah. So for this week and I guess the next 2 weeks, we'll be reviewing films from the film festival.
Removing this.
I'm tired. This week we're going to talk about 5 films that we have seen. Next week, we're taking a slight break. We saw Sorry Baby as part of the film festival, and we're going to review that next week alongside Eddington, and then we'll come back to Edinburgh Film Festival stuff with another 4 movies that we have watched. Mainly because we could have all done it all in this one episode, but I think we just wanted to talk a little bit more about each film. Like, these are the nice thing about Edinburgh International Film Festival. That is a tongue twister, by the way. Is that they really spotlight in independent film, like really independent film. A lot smaller people, first time feature directors, people and films with not a lot of budget. So I think instead of burling through all of them in a single episode, actually give them space and time to talk about them is quite nice. So don't worry if you haven't seen any of these. Most of you probably haven't. This is a time to discover some cool independent films that you might enjoy. Such as our first film.
We're starting with a doozy.
We start with a doozy called Bulk. So, Fuck. Am I doing plot stuff?
I have a plot summary for this one, which I think is just very basic.
You wrote a plot summary?
Well, it's a tiny one.
Okay, let's go.
It's not... Well, I don't think you can describe what this film is, really.
Yeah.
So all I've written is... We follow a man who enters a place called the house, which is this space with different rooms that are almost different realities in their own right.
Mm-hmm.
He is confused for most of the film, which means that we as the viewer are also piecing together the world in which we find ourselves. Our protagonist doesn't know who to trust or what got him there, which makes it difficult for him to navigate the landscape. And that's just kind of where we are for that film.
Okay, that's a pretty good plot summary.
Whole film is that.
Yeah. Yes. This is this screened as part of it was one of the opening films of the festival. It's by quite a big director actually, called Ben Wheatley. He directed Meg 2, The Trench.
That is a massive film.
It's a massive film, I know. And a movie called Free Fire, which independent movie that a lot of people is... Sorry, I have just learned incredible information.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say independent movie that people love. Would you believe that he is also the director of the Doctor Who episode Deep Breath, which I love.
I
and
hate
you
that
hate.
episode. It's so fucking long.
Oh my god, this recontextualizes some of the stuff I'm actually going to talk about.
This is
about this
crazy.
movie, so that's really funny. It is starring quite big actors as well. Normally the opening films kind of do. It stars Noah Taylor, who is one of these... I don't know if he is British. No, he's Australian. He's in movies such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Paddington 2, alongside Sam Riley, Alexandra Maria Lara, Mark Monero, and then Bill Nye is the voiceover of this movie. Very small cast, very weird plot.
Yeah.
Would you want to give your thoughts first on...
I only have a few things written down here, so I can't really say if I liked or disliked this film.
Well,
because it is so out there that there's no... It's almost like there's no metric for me to sit and go like, oh, this is what would make me love or hate what happens in this film. It's very out there, very indie. I said it's got an intelligent use of, or lack thereof, of actors by using one actor to play many different roles. Yeah, that's a part of this film. One of the actors, I don't know his name.
The guy who plays multiple people.
Yeah.
Noah Taylor.
He plays multiple different people in this film. To varying degrees of quality, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think the point is that one of them is just a caricature of a person. Maybe that's the point of this film. The more that he meets, the less like real people they are. The less like 3-dimensional they are. Who's to say that might be what they were going for? It might not be. But I just thought that was a fun way of when things are on smaller budgets, like keeping things cheap in interesting ways like that are cool. The use of miniatures was laughable, but it was also really charming.
Oh yeah, totally.
Great way of conveying what was happening, and again on a very low budget.
I really liked it.
Right. Okay.
So, this movie, I mean, maybe it was, you were able to tell from like Owen's plot summary, like the majority of this takes place in a house, but it is this large sci-fi concept. Basically, like, for all intents and purposes, a bomb has went off in this like place, and it's disrupted dimensionality and reality and stuff. So he's journeying through this place that has got all this weird shit going on, which is called the house, and the majority of it is an actual house. But then there is stuff that isn't, and that is like really shitty green screen.
Yeah.
And miniatures. So like they'll have a toy car, but they've like composited the actors inside of a toy car, driving.
Yeah, all the stuff that isn't is like barren wasteland, because the barren wasteland's in the house.
Yeah, yes.
But it's on a green screen.
Yes.
And there's at points like things like planes in the sky that are just toys that are on like string.
Mm-hmm.
They do their best to try and convey this really like large world with just what they have at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the film's giving a very like cult classic vibe, even though it's so new, and I can actually see people like gravitating towards it and absolutely loving it.
Totally.
For that reason.
It, contextually, when I read that Doctor Who thing, I wanted to tell you and I didn't at the time, this strikes me as feeling very, very Doctor Who-y. Like somebody who enjoyed like old classic weird Who.
Yeah, it definitely like gives like old sci-fi. Like very low budget sci-fi.
Yeah,
I didn't even actually think about that. Sci-fi back in the day was very much like
super low budget.
looked like that, yeah. Because that was all they had at the time.
This film's in black and white as well, which I feel like helped aid that comparison in my brain. But that alongside the miniatures and this shitty green screen, it's like, oh, this feels charming, like from a bygone era, even though it's not.
I did wonder why it was black and white. I genuinely, when it was black and white and then we got to like all the crazy miniature stuff, I thought maybe it's just one more thing. They thought we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about colour grading.
Yeah.
Like, just the lighting that matters at that point.
Yeah.
The story's batshit crazy and I'm not sure how well it holds up to scrutiny. But I'm sure there will be people that will probably dig into that at some point. Like, I can see this being one of those things where, like, if you go on the internet for like Donnie Darko and things like that, like people have like sat down and they like figured out all the timelines and all the stuff in the background.
I think you're being generous.
I can see, like I said, I think it could be like a cult classic and people would sit down with it and actually break it down.
Sure. Sure.
You don't think
I
so?
don't. I disagree because I think I got what the film was doing. Like, I think essentially because we were not going to spoil any of these movies, so we were kind of talking spoilery. But like, I don't think the film is actually that complicated plot wise from like start to end. And actually, when you get to the end, it's like, okay, cool. I actually understand what's happening here. Is the whole middle chunk that's just like, let's be weird.
It's all. I do think there's just random stuff in there though.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Why?
Yeah. I wasn't really sold by the actors, unfortunately, which I wish I had been, because I think it would have like made it up for me, like this whole mind-bending story that isn't very grounded, that is just a bit batshit crazy. I think if the performances had grounded it for me, then I would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't think anything really of the acting. It wasn't stand out and it wasn't like distracting. I think the film was just so weird.
I think mainly there was like the relationship between two people, and I think the two people changed a lot with the film.
But then I think the like zaniness and the weirdness actually hurts. Like narratively, this movie is trying to have a thread of like a relationship, as like from the start to the end. But actually, the zaniness and the weirdness sometimes gets in the way of them connecting.
Yep.
So I get that.
For sure.
Do you have anything else? Or do you want me to? I quite like what. You can respect something and not enjoy it, and I really respect this, and especially when I got to the end credits, and the end credits are like really nice. They're all like hand drawn, and you see like little sketches of like what they wanted scenes to be and how they shot stuff, and clearly the people poured a lot of love into this. And I think two things can be true. Like I really do respect the people that worked on this. I just did not enjoy it, and I do think it slips into being weird for weird's sake a lot of the time. And that kind of ties into the whole like, I think narratively it's not that complicated. Like, I think they actually trimmed back the weirdness of it slightly, and maybe, as you're saying, maybe that would allow the relationship to blossom a little more and you'd feel more attached. Then it could have been a more compelling film. I don't know. I wrote that the plot is not the point of this movie. which it isn't. It's very much just you should experience this. However, the movie gets bogged down in plot.
Yeah.
So it's at odds with itself. Like there's whole sequences of this movie where they're like, exposition dump, here we go, another exposition dump, but none of that, like, you're not interested in that. So why is that like a large feature of the movie? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Respect to all the filmmakers for all the work that they put in. I didn't get a lot out of this. And interestingly, talking about the end credits, there's the end credits, which is like the list of everybody who worked on the movie, but they have this really fun bit before where the movie ends. Maybe I won't spoil that. Do you know, I don't know the right terms to use for this, but there's like the end credits and then like pre-credits.
Mid-credit.
Is that what they're called? Because you have a mid-credit, like a post-credit scene and a mid-credit scene, but it's all credits.
Right. Well, the credits haven't even rolled yet.
But they are credit. When you watch a movie and like the first bit of the credits that normally have graphics and it's like the director, the writer, the actors, and then a few bits and bobs, a few roles.
Yep. They
do an interesting thing with that, separate to them all being written. And when they do that, they actually kind of show a bit of the crew. And I was watching that and I'm going, this is really fun. Like, personality is coming through here. I'm having fun watching this. It was like really inventive. And then you saw the crew and you're like, oh, cool, you all really care about this. But I think that retroactively maybe go, that love and that care and that personality didn't really come through in the film because it came through in that credits far more than it ever did in the film.
I don't know if I would say that so much, like lack of noticing the love, care, and personality in the film. Because I think the film being so goofy is like an expression of the people that were making it.
Maybe not a lack of, but like it was not as refined as that was. Like at the end, it's clear what they're doing, and it allowed their personality to come through more than the film. I don't know. Basically, it ended, and I enjoyed the ending more, and it made me go, I wish this was what the vibe of the movie was.
A vlog.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. The personality and creativity is there at the end, but I wish that was utilized better in the movie. Like, yeah. Very strange movie. I think, as you say, I think some people will get stuff out of this. Just not too.
Just wasn't us.
Yeah.
The next film we've got is Misper, which was directed by Harry Sheriff and written by Lawrence Tratalos.
Yeah.
Starring Samuel Blanken, who you were like, oh, he's in that season of Black Mirror.
Yeah, people know him from Black Mirror. I mean, he's got a bunch of TV credits, but he's in if anybody's seen Black Mirror, the episode where people go up to Scotland and it tackles true crime, that kind of stuff.
Cool, not seen it. And then Emily Carey.
Yes, who is young Alison Hightower.
Yes, okay. Because we talked about this, but I couldn't recognise her when I was actually watching the film.
I don't recognise her actually watching it. She looks very different how she does.
Yeah, but now that you've said that, I can see it. Plot summary for this, I literally wrote 2 lines. We follow a young man who works in a rundown hotel after a colleague of his mysteriously disappears. The film is really a study of how this change in his life affects him and the kind of trauma that it's left him with. I personally quite enjoyed this one. I have quite a soft spot for British films in general, I think. Something about the setting and then often like the awkwardness of a lot of the characters in a film like that. And it just sort of works for me. I mean, specifically in this film, there is a substantial amount of awkwardness between a lot of people, but it's not that performance that's supposed to draw out a sort of like cringe effect in you. It's supposed to just be relatable. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that.
Especially like this follows employees of a place, and it captures that like you're not necessarily friends, like, but you are forced to exist in this space together.
Yeah, and it's like you're always trying to reach some sort of common ground with people that you can't relate to at all.
And then suddenly something really harrowing happens.
Yeah.
and you still have to deal with those relationships.
Yes. And speaking of the setting, I love that it took place in the hotel. That has seen better days. Like, I just think that's great as a setting. There's something about that just feels similar to like a lot of stuff in the UK. I think just like everything's just a bit run down. I guess maybe living out here, I don't know what a good example is. There's like football fields over my way, and they just always have looked run down the whole time that I've been alive.
Yeah.
Like it kind of feels like the perfect location to show someone in one of those like shitty stepping stone jobs at the start of their career, which like everyone just kind of has to go through at this point. A lot of people.
To be clear, that's the 1%ers, not us. I thought you had the way you were like, well, not us though. Piff poff.
No, we can relate. We work. We work in supermarkets. What I was alluding to there is a lot of people from our generation have to go through a lot of jobs like that, and you can feel that's where this character is at in his life.
Yeah. And
so is the other young person at the start of this film. Like, she's also, when she gets reminded that he'd been there for 2 years, she realized how long I think she'd been there. And she's like, oh fuck me, I can't believe that. And you see that she wants to quit.
Well, and this like how that plays into the setting as well of this completely rundown place. This like mundane routine that they go through every day. The setting adding to that, this just like day in day out same thing. Like gets across the mundanity of their ordinary lives like quite succinctly.
Yeah, for sure. I like how there's such a small cast, so that even the characters that we see so little of like mean something to us at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it's just for a comedic moment or for something more, we know who each of them is.
Yeah, it's a very small cast of 6-7 people, and that's it.
Yep.
In quite a large hotel as well.
Yeah.
Again, adding to the. This is just barren. Like, nobody's going here.
I thought there was going to be. It was just we're focusing on like a certain set of people that were all working in that hotel until you get to a point in the film where they're all in one room together, and you go like, oh, it is a skeleton crew. And it's probably somewhere that had like tens of employees at some point.
Yep.
When it was like bustling decades ago, but now it's just this rundown thing with barely any people to uphold it. The film is that awful washed out grey that the UK just is all of the time, and it's so fitting, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It matched the drab aesthetic and the grim reality that the protagonists find themselves in perfectly.
It's horrible, and then also you'll catch yourself being like, well, it's quite stunning though. Cinematography is quite nice. And then you go, oh no, this is just the UK. Ugh.
Yeah, you're going like, oh, it's an aesthetic though.
Yeah.
It's like what all the Americans see Edinburgh as when like somebody makes a TikTok of Edinburgh, and it's just like rain and dark, and there's like, but then they add the music and the slow like zooms, and then suddenly
it's gorgeous. Yeah,
it's beautiful. I think our protagonist has a good performance of someone just slipping further and further from reality. So he slowly just kind of recedes within himself until the failure just seems to all happen at some point. I love all those little interactions with the people around him, which show that they're like coping differently with the situation. So you have the like older lady who kind of reminded me of my gran, if I'm being honest. Who just keeps banging on about a holiday.
Yeah.
And it's that's the only like mindset that she's in, and I love that. And then you have the other woman who was like in the car at the start of the film, and then she has feelings of guilt, and I like how that comes back around. Personally, I do think the film kind of starts to lose itself, or it got lost on me towards the end, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if I just felt like it was treading water or what happened in my opinion. And then my personal gripe with the film is the last scene.
Oh, okay.
But aside from that, I quite enjoyed it.
in you didn't like where it ends up, or
No,
or
just,
how it.
not how it ends up. I think it ends fine. It's just that very last scene.
The performances in that, or like
The it's not the
it's not the content of that scene.
no.
It's
Like the it's like the last shot feels very it's like student film
on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But conceptually, you're actually fine with where the film ends up. It's just how it went about it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed this as well. I'd highly recommend it. I think it's a wonderful debut. Very small, but very intentional, purposeful. I think sometimes smaller indie movies kind of feel constrained by the fact that they are smaller and independent, and that they are restricted in stories that they want to tell. I think this was restricted, but purposely restrictive. Like, yes, it only really takes place in this barren hotel and then slight little bits and bobs outside, but it felt fitting for the story that they were telling. And I thought it was a really refreshing type story for the subject matter it's dealing with. I have thought about this often, and I have hammered on. I've had multiple conversations about this, where I hate true crime as a genre. I don't think it should exist. I think it's abhorrent. I genuinely do. I don't. The way that like media has sensationalized true crime, and the onslaught of like Netflix originals, and it's not documentaries, it's fictionalizations of
Real things.
Real things that happen to real people. I have hated it since I was a kid. Like, it just really bugs me, because some people have went through a tragedy, and instead of letting them process that and deal with that in their own time and space, suddenly the world gets to know about them. And they're like, if you're a parent that went through something and suddenly, you know, you're being portrayed by an actor on a TV show, and you're trying to move past something that happened to you. Like,
can I ask, do you think there's a statute of limitations on
that? In what way?
Well, for example, we
Like
have
time.
films like The Zodiac. So, like, if you're decades removed at that point, do you think that becomes okay?
I think it becomes more okay.
Yeah, okay.
I still feel icky about it.
Yeah, because that people will still be alive that
Yes.
will still experience it. Yeah.
I also think it does damage in how... to me, it's always like when newspapers report on a crime... Actually, this was explored a little bit in Adolescence, if anybody's seen Adolescence. Something happens to a girl in adolescence, and the story is about the kid who did it or didn't do it. But there's an episode in that show, because you've not seen it, have you? No. There's an episode in that show where one of the police officers they're just having a conversation, they're walking, and she goes, like, I feel shit about this, because he will be remembered, this kid. The girl who this happened to, she will be forgotten. And it is this way that, like, crime is kind of centered on either it's true crime and they exploit the victims and then the victims' families and everything, or they go the other way and they focus on the person that did the crime, and they get like, they become infamous for this, and they, you know, experience this like level of popularity because of them committing a crime. Horrible. All of that to say, I think this was a really interesting idea to focus on the people who are on the periphery of something that happens. So something happens to somebody in this movie very early on. We do not explore the person who did it. We don't explore the family. They're tertiary characters in this movie, but you explore none of them. Instead, you focus on the people that are still affected, but have never had focus on them before in like a narrative or whatever, or just like people that you forget about in life, like work colleagues. They're not going to be able to get work off because something happened to their work colleague, and they have to just go through the days trying to live a normal life when something awful has happened. and we got some nice notes from like the director and writer and stuff. And actually, after watching this movie, I was really curious why and how this movie came to be. Fascinating stuff about the director had worked near a tragedy that had happened, and it had kind of clicked in his brain like why all these people are coping with trauma differently, and we never get to hear their sides of the story and what life is like for them. So kind of like what you were saying, when you see each of these different employees and they do all cope with this slightly differently. I just think it was really interesting to get the perspective of people that we don't get. It's fascinating. And do you know what's interesting as well is that in true crime shows, movies, or in real life as well, the victim's family or the people close to the victim will get updates, and the police will, because they're both parties involved in trying to solve the crime. And that, when you're watching a true crime show, you get all the information as well. Here it's really cool because you're following people and experiencing the trickling of information as they would in real time. So randomly a character will enter a room and the TV will be playing and they'll hear a random update. And contextually, I actually typically don't like when this happens in a movie where you're like given information and plot through like newspapers and TV and that. I think it's a bad way to do exposition, but it's so smartly used here because it's the only way the employees are able to understand what's going on. Nobody's coming to update them. Mm-hmm. So they'll walk into a room, they'll hear like catch a little bit of a TV, or one of the employees has read a newspaper, and
which is a really nice, like it's a really good scene.
It's a great scene
one, where they're trying to like hold the information because they see how it's affecting their other
one of the other employees. Yeah. So you have stuff like that where there's information is available, and then there's a tension between whether or not it should be given. I just thought that was really, really quite smart. A really smart way to place us in the world of that movie as if we were one of the employees. We don't know what happened, and when we do find out purposely what happens, it's how other normal people would just find out. Just all of a sudden it's solved, or like they know everything.
Yeah, it's like lackluster because that's just reality.
But yes, totally. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting focusing on this main character specifically, because of the way it manifests in him. It's kind of this slow descent into madness. It's quite maddening that he isn't finding out. It's funny, something happens early on in this movie, and because they're not rushed to immediately, they also don't know that a crime has happened. And it is, like you were saying, that woman, she's like, oh, holiday, like, maybe the person's on holiday. Because they don't know, they haven't been given any information, so it's now like, oh, like, has something happened? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that way that information was drip fed, I just thought was really interesting.
I genuinely wondered if we were ever going to find out.
No, yeah, totally. Thought the same thing.
Like any information.
Because you also don't see the crime.
Yeah.
You're not privy to that.
Yep. Which I think is really effective.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to spoil the scene, but I think as well this explores gender in an interesting way. Mm-hmm. In how people suppress emotions, and not only are you like, is it exploring work colleagues having to like bury shit and like move on, but also the way that maybe is expected of a certain gender and not expected of another gender, and the dynamics there I thought was really interesting. They just do a lot with it. It's a really short movie and they do a lot with it. This backdrop of true crime used to like explore in indirect ways how we sensationalize this stuff, I just thought was really smart. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was shot beautifully, it's acted wonderfully. There's little bits and bobs that I thought kind of like you, I don't necessarily know if it feels kind of, as you say, studenty.
Right at the very end.
I know, I know. But it's the final thing you see.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
But as a feature debut, I thought this was really something.
Agreed.
Fun. We haven't been recommending these, I realise.
Oh.
Would you recommend Bulk?
I'm not going to recommend Bulk.
I wouldn't either. would you recommend this?
I'd recommend this.
I also would. Ding dong, we're on the same page. Okay, next we're going to talk about a movie called On the Sea. This is directed by Helen Walsh, who has only directed 2 films. One other film called The Violators, which I do not know, from a decade ago. And this movie now, On the Sea. It features 2 main actors. There's a bunch of people in this, but it mainly follows 2 main actors. Barry Ward, who's been in a heap load of stuff, and Lauren McFadden. I know Barry Ward. I don't know Lauren McFadden actually from anything. This film is about a man named Jack, who has been married to his wife Maggie for a long time.
Let's say like 20 years.
We'll say roughly that.
I think they do say a number at some point.
I don't know.
I don't remember it.
And it takes place on this like fishing, like coastal town, where Jack's job is like a mussel farmer. They're called farmers, I think.
It's Anglesey, the island just off. It's just the top of it's north of Wales.
Right.
Yeah.
In the movie?
Yeah. It's because
right.
name places. They name I think it's called Holyhead, which is like a way route. If you actually, I'll show you afterwards on Google Maps. They name a place that they could go to get a drink at some point in the film. And they're like, that's ages away. And sure enough, you look on the map and it's like you have to go like round the island to
oh
get
wow,
to it.
okay. So it's just following him as he's like living his day-to-day life. He's owns this company with his brother, and his nephews all work there. His son doesn't. There's like some tension between him and his son. We learn that he's had like some health scares in the past as well. That's all very just like contextual stuff at the start of the movie. And suddenly his son is kind of a little bit troubled. His son gets into a spot of bother where him and some of his friends push an old man into the sea, and this new farmer man dives in to rescue this old man. And from that moment, there's like a stolen glance between the two, and what the film proceeds to follow is their blossoming relationship, I guess, and how that causes tension between all the other characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Sean, what did you think On the Sea?
I liked it.
Review.
I actually don't know much of what I have to say about this. Like you touched on there on the tension, like that's caused between, I guess our main character Jack and all of the other people in his life, and it's really interesting to see because there's a lot of things at play there. He's got his relationship with his wife, his son, his brother, and then I guess the community, but it's not something you necessarily explicitly see, but it's something that's spoken about a lot in the film, is them, Jack and Daniel, trying to sort of explore this relationship of theirs together throughout this film, and it's always this sort of tug and war of trying to hide things from people around them, but it's all one-sided because Daniel doesn't come from North Wales. It's not a problem for him. He's not hiding who he is or anything. So it's always just he's exploring this relationship with Jack, and it's almost like a game to him, and he can just enjoy himself. And wherever they're seen together, that doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter to him, but to Jack it does, because there's this underlying thing of people in the community obviously know that he's queer before we're even shown it. There's a point where Jack and Daniel at the bar speaking, and Jack's brother says, "Do you not want to come sit with the men?" And that's before we've seen anything explicit that implies that people in the community that would know that Daniel was queer. So it's this thing of they could just go and play pool somewhere, and that comes up a couple times in the film, but Jack doesn't want to go and play pool with Daniel in the public eye because that would imply that there's something going on. Even if there weren't, people would just start talking. So it is I think the dynamics between those two and the community are really interesting in the film.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think this film's fine. I think if you've seen an independent queer movie like this before, you've seen this movie, and I think other movies do this better. It's not got a ton going on. I think it's very God's Own Country, or take any like any sort of majority of these queer movies, independent queer movies, that are like one person is comfortable in their sexuality, the other person is not. It causes tension. Like what you're saying there, interesting, but also explored already a billion times. And I guess that isn't like a fault of the movie, because that's contextual to other queer films
and how much you've seen.
Yeah. But yes. So I don't think it's doing anything particularly new, not that it needs to, but I think if something is doing something that's well worn, it needs to do it really well, and I don't think this movie particularly does. You know, you'll have cliched lines that these two characters, their relationship starts to grow and stuff, and obviously people maybe want to be a little bit more public, or as you say, like, come play a game of pool with me. Why won't you go play a game of pool? Because of people's perceptions and all that stuff. But I've completely lost my train of thought. That's really fun.
What about the other relationships in the film?
Well, yeah, I will get back to that. The relationship between those two, sorry, it amounts to like but we have like such a special time together and stuff. And I think that's fine. Like, I have cliched lines like that. If you're going to show that, what really grinded my gears a little bit with this is these two are seen to have their relationship's growing together, but the only way that their relationship really grows is physical. Like, you have the stolen glances and whatever, and the like tension between the two, and there's a chemistry between these two people that I think is great, but that amounts and it culminates in it being physical, and then it just proceeds to be physical, and that's it. I don't think these two people had an emotional connection and like a real, like, lasting relationship that justifies where this film goes. I just didn't like, and it is one of these things that, yes, this is contextual in other queer movies that I've seen, but it is something that often happens in queer movies, is they go, the physicality is the most important part of this, or it is emblematic of them culminating? No. Yes, culminating their... No, culminating is not the word I mean. It's emblematic of their relationship coming to, like, fruition, like a love, a really powerful love. I don't find that compelling to watch. I think there needs to be something a little bit more. I just this movie is it's not bad. I really want to get across that this movie is not bad. I enjoyed watching it, but I knew the beats it was gonna hit. Like, he has this relationship with this man, and there's a wife at home. I wonder how that's gonna go. I'm not gonna say, but like, take a wild guess. And there was nothing interesting. It's like, when something happens, there's no interesting back and forth in dialogue. It's no, let's split the characters up, go away, you've done something, okay, cool. And I think the added layer to this is maybe the health scares that Jack has had. But I just think that amounted to this being incredibly bleak, and queer cinema is already incredibly bleak. And again, I know this is all contextual, but I can't help that I'm viewing this in the context of everything else that I've seen, and I've seen stuff that wants to be really sour and depressing. I've seen that done better, and I've seen that done it where it like really affects you. I've seen love and relationships between queer people better. I've seen like what's the word, like relationships that shouldn't happen. I'm blanking on the word.
Like a Romeo and Juliet?
No, like like he's married, like you know, a relationship that shouldn't happen. I've seen them done better as well. Like and even if I'm removing all of that, I just think this is fine. I didn't really attach to the characters in an emotional level, and kind of is what I said earlier, but I felt it was just purely physical and that.
Yeah, no, I do think you're right. I think just to be clear, I'm not super high on this either, but I did enjoy it, and I do think you're right. I think when you're talking about them having chemistry, that was a lot of that was towards the start of the film when they're talking a lot and you can see the relationship developing, and then suddenly we're doing almost montagey stuff of like cutting away to them where you can see they're being all physical and things, and then it cuts back to them essentially walking away from each other because they can't spend time with each other.
And it's not to say that physical, like, that's clearly a part of relationships.
Yeah, but it just becomes that in the film. Yes. I understand. Yeah,
because there's moments actually after that like beginning bit where they are together, and it's like, oh, there's clearly like a chemistry here and also like him dealing with we don't know, maybe like a first queer I don't know, like whatever, he's it's his first time being intimate with this person, and there's something there, but as you say, it goes like fast, and then it just becomes about physicalness. I don't know.
How do you feel about the end? Did you find the end quite tacked on?
That's kind of what I'm saying, like it's needlessly depressing and sad, and it's a lot of queer cinema is.
It's not really where I was expecting us to like leave it off.
It also just goes like that, like so quick. And the relationships that maybe could be interesting, which again, actually, his relationship with him, but also his family. I don't think any of that's explored.
Yeah, I think they have like an interesting groundwork there, because like there is like small things between his wife and his son, but it all just like happens once, and then they just never really pick up on it. And the stuff with his son just kind of like suddenly just choosing to go and take part as well, which felt a bit nowhere. There's a lot of, I think it's just the end to me is quite rushed. Yeah,
I agree. Do you have much more to say about it's quite pretty. This looks quite pretty. Sorry, I'm not trying to be like super. I don't like being negative with these like film festival films as well, because clearly there's like a lot of passion and stuff put into these independent films, but
I like that.
So okay, cool.
I would recommend it.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay, I would recommend you go watch other stuff.
You got to recommend them then.
What I said previously.
What do you mean when you said
God's Own Country is the same story as this.
Cool.
It literally takes place on a farm, and there's a queer farmer. It's like it's slightly different, but anyway. Yeah.
Cool.
I do feel bad. I just thought it was fine. So, as we were saying, Owen was not well this week. So, Owen missed a few. He missed only one that we're going to talk about this week. Missed a few, but that'll come in the next episode. I'm going to talk about a movie called Concessions, which I got to attend the premiere of, which was super fun. It was introduced by the director, Maz Bouzidi, who was talking about it. And he was like, yeah, I shot this film when I was 22. And I was sitting there like, what the... Okay, cool. This movie takes place in the Royal Alamo Cinema, and it is closing its doors for the final time. It is shutting down, and it is kind of a day in the life, all takes place in one day movie. We are following the employees of this cinema and the patrons of this cinema, the people who lurk outside. It's a wonderful like cast of so many people. It also is like one of, maybe it's his last role. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Michael Madsen's in this movie, and it's one of his last roles, if not his last role. And his son was there, and every time he came up on screen, he kind of got like a clap and stuff. It was lovely. But this is such an ensemble. There's so many characters and stuff going on. This is very much a movie that's like, it wears its influences on its sleeve, like quite literally. There's a moment in the end credits that is like, with special thanks to Richard Linklater and like XYZ, a ton of filmmakers who you can see the influences on this movie. But still, this very much feels like a singular voice. It still feels distinctly this person, especially after hearing them talk. It was like, yeah, you made this movie. It is literally just a day in the life of these people kind of talking. It's the conversations you would hear in a movie theater. So like, they're talking about movies and stuff. There's some great jokes and gags. There's part of me that really wants to spoil some of the gags, but I will not. They are hilarious. It's takes place in a movie theater, and they can't necessarily use IP, but it's an independent movie as well, so they can't have like movie posters up for actual movies. So they do the really fun thing that I feel like Tarantino does, where they make up like spoof movies in the movie, and then also, because you're in a cinema, there'll be moments where the characters are going into the movie screen, so you'll see part of the movies, and they filmed those spoof movies. One scene in particular, the entire movie, I caught the first time it was a joke. It was just like a random poster. I was like, oh, that's funny. And they keep bringing up this movie, and I was like, oh god, I really want to see this now. And there's a big extended sequence where we see part of this movie, and it is phenomenal. So if that doesn't sell you on it,
I'm sold.
Yeah. It is the closest thing. I don't want to compare it to a bunch of movies, because you could, but I think that defeats the purpose of like this being its own thing. But it feels very Dazed and Confused. It feels very much like, if you've seen that movie, I think that also is just like a day, and you are floating in and out between like different people, and it's a massive ensemble, and there's crossover between cast members and all this stuff, and it's just like it's a hangout movie. I think that's the best way to put it. You just kind of learn about the odd eccentricness of the different characters, but also there is a tinge of something deeper as well. So this is an establishment closing down, and the main character, I would say, he is slightly older and has been working there a while. One of the people that comes into the movie theater is like, oh, hey, blank from school, like, you're still here, that kind of thing. It's like, oh, they've kind of put their life on pause a bit, and like kind of what you were saying about Misper earlier, these characters who are suddenly like, oh, I've been here this long, and because the place is closing, it is very much them contending with, well, shit, what do I do with my life now? Like, I physically cannot work here anymore. I do wish that the movie went slightly deeper into that. I think it falls short slightly, because towards the end of the movie, it kind of, there's some scenes that culminate in like profound statements and stuff that don't quite feel earned, because I think we spend so much time with so many different characters. It would have been a little bit nicer just to spend a little bit more time with the main two, because I feel it would make the ending hit a little harder. However, I also would like it to be longer, because I don't think any of those side characters should have been cut. I mean, there's, 3 stoners who have a band that are playing outside the Alamo and they're protesting it. There's a woman, my favorite joke of the movie, there's a woman who is a news reporter, and she's desperately trying to get a story out of this closing. So she'll like just, stuff will be happening, and she'll randomly walk into camera and she'll be like, wow, this is crazy. And she'll just stick a mic in people's faces. And that joke like escalates really fun into something. There's like this guy who has a monologue in like one of the movie theaters, and his whole shit. You're following mainly the 2 guys behind the concession stand, but then there's also the girl at the ticketing booth and the man who owns the cinema, and is like really strict with everybody. Like, people are trying to take in food, and he's like, ha! And he's pointing at the sign like, no food from outside. Like, just stupid shit like that. It's just funny. Like, you have a smile on your face the entire time. If you like film, you will like this movie. The director spoke about this movie was shot in 16mm, and they wanted to show it in 35mm, but one of the reels was lost. Well, not lost. It was stuck in customs in London, so they only had half the movie. But he was like, we still want to show it in 35mm, so we're gonna flip from digital to 35mm at some point in the movie. And I'm saying to you, it's really interesting to see there is a big difference between seeing something digitally and then seeing it on film. But he was talking about like, yeah, I know that it makes sense to shoot this on film because it's kind of harkening back to these like movies of a bygone era that was shot on film, like Dazed and Confused. But he was like, as much as it is fitting for this story, my career moving forward, I will be shooting on film. Like, it's the way that cinema should be. The way he spoke, he had such a reverence for cinema and filmmaking and like all of that stuff. Crazy. I can't remember, someone who was asking him questions at the end asked him something, I think to do with digital versus film, and he went, oh, I've not shot on a digital camera in years. And her response was, oh, like, wow. He was like, yeah, like, well, commercial stuff or whatever, but like, nah, I will only shoot on film. I think a lot of people are like, fuck, that's expensive. But
yeah, really
good for him. Yeah, I think this film shines in the strengths of the director, which is like, he has a passion for filmmaking as an art form, and that bleeds through into the film, like the sacredity of films and the conversations that people had about movies. It was a little like triggering. I was like, oh, I've had conversations like this. Like him and the guy behind the concession stand are talking about George Lucas and whether or not he's like a good director and like whether or not George Lucas was a racist. And like
oh my god. Is this from Phantom Menace?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like conversations that if you have filmy friends, nerdy friends specifically, I'm sure you've had
the point I made.
I'm sure you've had conversations like this, and I'm sure you will get so much out of the little bits of comedy in the movie. Yeah, I just thought this was wonderful, and I will add this to the selection of like wonderful hangout movies that I enjoy. If you like film, you have to go see this. Yeah, I maybe glazing it, but I truly enjoyed this movie, and it's one that I'm like, yeah, watch it in a cinema. Obviously, I mean, it looks stunning and stuff, but it's one that I kind of want to have like friends over and like sit and order a pizza or something. Like, it's just got such a nice vibe to it. So I would highly recommend this movie.
Cool. I can't recommend it. I didn't see it.
I know, I'm sorry, but you will, just because you trust me. Yeah, cool.
No.
Well,
I unrecommend it.
Shit. We are recording this in 2 batches, but we want to add in another movie into this episode, so we will throw to us there now. Next we're going to talk about a movie called Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk. This is a movie by Sepidi Farsi. I do apologise if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She's an Iranian filmmaker that is quite prolific in documentaries. That's how you say that word.
And I think fiction, she says as well in the documentary.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Well, 'cause the in the documentary she's presenting her last film, which is fiction. It's not a documentary at all. Never mind, she's done both. This movie is a heavy movie to talk about. I'm just gonna actually read the description from Letterboxd because I think it's a little better.
I've got it here.
I've got it here. This is in the words of the filmmaker herself. She said it was her response as a filmmaker to the ongoing massacre of the Palestinians, her personal way to not lose her sanity. A miracle happened when she met Fatim through a Palestinian friend, and that is Fatima Hasuna. Yeah. ever since she became my eyes in Gaza while surviving under the bombs and documenting the war. And she became her connection to the outside world from her Gaza prison, as she puts it. They kept this line of life going for more than 200 days. The bits of pixels and sounds that they exchanged constitute the film that you see. Fatim's assassination on April 16th, 2025, following an Israeli attack on her home, has forever changed its meaning. The movie is essentially FaceTimes and conversations between the filmmaker and Fatima Hassouna, who is living in the Gaza Strip, and it's sort of a first-hand account of everything that's going on there, and her channeling this back to Sepideh, who becomes a sort of becomes a way to, you know, channel what's happening in Gaza out through this, but also they develop a friendship over this period of time as well. And that is the movie. You are just seeing FaceTimes. You also see Fatima Hassouna. I don't think the movie ever calls her like a photojournalist.
No,
but
she just says that she's a photographer.
The movie is interspliced with her photos that she has captured in Gaza, and often that's layered with one of their conversations, or we see sometimes they'll send each other voice notes because the internet is so bad in Gaza where she is. So that kind of becomes like a voiceover for the photos that you're seeing in the film. Oh, what did you think of this movie?
If I'm being honest, unfortunately, I feel I have mixed feelings about it. Obviously, I enjoy it for the fact that enjoy is not the word I mean to use.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that it exists, and I think it's a good thing for getting out the experience of people in there, and for the general public to be exposed to images of what everything looks like on the Gaza Strip. Because I think, again, because we've literally just spoke about politics, and there's just so much going on all the time. It's so easy to just drift from it and not really be aware of what's going on, or close yourself off to things that are going on in the world. So every time I personally see these images, I'm like, fuck me, how are we allowing this to happen over and over and over again? So as far as it goes as serving some like that purpose, I think it's a good thing. But like you said, this film is FaceTiming. That's essentially what the film is. And so it is just conversations between Fatima and Sepideh for the whole film. And I think it is interesting, overarching, because you actually sadly get to see Fatima start to lose hope, I guess. She starts to become more depressed towards the end of the film, and it's just an awful thing to see. And I think for that reason, it serves as like an arc. Like that is the arc of the documentary, is seeing someone kind of lose hope in some ways. But I don't think granularly between all those conversations there was a whole lot of information that I was learning personally that necessarily justifies the question I kind of have is personally is what is a documentary for? And I always think it's for learning, and I don't think I learned a lot of new stuff within this documentary. I think its purpose was served by purely exposing the world to images that it's already seen. So I'm quite mixed on it.
It's interesting to this whole thing, like when people rate things slightly differently, then you read the reviews and it's actually the exact same thing. I really enjoyed this. I think I completely concur with everything that you're kind of saying. The overarching piece of this documentary is Fatima. Like when you're introduced to Fatima, she has the most like glorious smile. Like you know, the war had already been going on for months at that point, and obviously she's also grown up Palestinian, and there's been tension there probably for as long as she's been alive, but there was still like such a radiant beam of like happiness from her, and the movie as it goes on, it is her losing hope and faith, and not faith, she still remains faithful, but her smile dwindles. I find that absolute like really difficult to watch, is because this film is purely just FaceTimes. Every time you're seeing her face, she's still smiling, but there's stuff that she has clearly seen, things that have shaped who she is now, and her I don't know, her smile just said so much, and I found this really difficult to watch, if I'm being honest. I am partial to documentaries that actually do this, that have some sort of narrative and then interspliced with photos. I think photos are really interesting ways to convey a lot without saying a lot. My favourite documentary of all time does this. And I think it was just powerful that this is Gaza through her eyes as well. And not all of the images were the war-torn, stick on a news channel images of Gaza. Like, at one point she brings up her Instagram and she's like, I'm a photographer, this is what I used to capture the beauty of my land and stuff. And now I am trying so much, but you can see like the color palette of her Instagram just becomes grey. And there are like pockets here and there of, you know, joyous moments that she's found, but it's just difficult to watch. Stuff like this, I think, is purposeful, and I disagree with the notion that you said that a documentary has to be educational. I don't particularly agree with that. I think sometimes it's to contextualize stuff for people sometimes, and I think this film probably should be shown to a lot of people that are probably never going to view it. If people don't know, there was a documentary last year that came out called No Other Land. It didn't get distribution. It was Israeli and Palestinian filmmakers coming together to tell a story about the conflict. It won documentary feature at the Oscars, and it still never got distribution. I highly doubt this movie will. This movie doesn't feature anything that crazy. They weren't filming in Gaza for the most part. You know, it's simply images of what's going on and a woman's account of it. And I doubt this will get widely distributed. And that sucks, because there are people that should see this, that should see what's going on, and maybe it would actually resonate with them a little bit. You know, I'm basically saying politicians should watch this, like, right. Well and truly. I do think, however, I really enjoyed this as a film, and I think as an account of a singular person, I think it's stunning. I do have slight gripes filmmaking wise. I think there's some really wonderful edits in here that are actually like really horrible. The film isn't just FaceTimes as well. It's recordings of the news that are cut in as well, and that's edited quite well. I do think though that as much as those news snippets were good contextually for where they were at the conflict at the time, I still think you need. This is my issue with some documentaries. You actually need to know stuff going into it, and in a horrible way, we're in a position where we know a lot about it because of where we live in the world, and our friends being politically engaged, and you know, whatever, such and such. But there will be people that probably don't know to the extent what's going on, and I don't know if this movie provides enough context for somebody who doesn't know to watch it and then understand it and get a lot out of it. I also disagree with everything I've just said, I agree with myself and I disagree with myself, because I also think This Is Wonderful is just a personal story, and it is one person's account, and it is stripped away of, you know, all of the politics to be this is what it's like to be a person living in a war-torn place. I do just think it needs a little bit more context, perhaps, just to help. But I personally, I really thought this was quite moving, and I thought it was absolutely devastating. I knew what happened to Fatima. For anybody that doesn't know, this film was supposed to show at Cannes Film Festival, and that is in the movie. She tells Sepideh tells Fatima that the movie is going to be shown there, but when she tells her, they want Fatima to come to Cannes Film Festival as well. After they tell her, that was the final conversation.
Was it the day before? I didn't double check the dates.
I didn't double check the dates either. I knew it was very close.
Yeah, because I thought this says April 16th, and I remember it was 1 a.m. when they were all sleeping. So I think the call was April 15th.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think more stories like this need to be told to maybe shine a light on what's happening and try and make people feel. If anything, this film, I think its purpose was to bring humanity back to a conflict. Often conflicts are abstracted and we talk about them as entities, and we talk about it as countries fighting each other.
Yeah.
But there are people who exist in these countries and they are going through the horrors. And to see somebody remain hopeful through it, it was a very difficult watch. But I think I totally recommend this as just to see what a conflict's like through somebody's eyes. I just
100%.
So sad.
This is probably like one of the most important things this is the most important thing that we've watched in this film festival. And 100% recommend it. I think everyone should watch something like this, if not this, because like you said, there's too much politics, and there's just this bird's eye view that we all have and everything all the time, and there's people that are actually living it, and we need to experience those stories.
Totally.
That's Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Jack and Owen. That was a great review. It's so bad when our schedules are like.
It didn't confuse me, but when we did the Materialists one, Life of Chuck, and you threw to Materialists and then bounced us back, I felt like I'd missed half an episode.
Like I time traveled.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Plot to Go. Episode number
35.
Next week we will be talking about Sorry Baby, which we saw as part of this film festival, and then Eddington also, because I think there's going to be a lot of conversation around that movie.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
If you like this episode, like and subscribe and follow us on
Spotify
and
Apple Podcasts
and
YouTube
and
TikTok
and
Instagram.
Wow.
It was so easy this time.
So easy. It's like you did it an hour ago.
Yeah, it's like I just had a run up to it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.